Have you ever brought home a beautiful bag of potting soil only to find it filled with annoying fungus gnats? Or maybe you just hate the mess that comes with repotting your indoor jungle? Well, what if I told you that you could skip the dirt entirely? Today, we are diving into the magical world of water propagation. I am going to show you 20 incredible indoor plants that develop roots incredibly fast, using absolutely nothing but a glass of tap water. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to multiply your plant collection for free, turning your home into a lush, green paradise without ever touching a speck of dirt. So, let us get straight to the point. Do you think soil is absolutely necessary for plants to thrive? Stick around because what you are about to see might completely change the way you look at gardening forever. Before we jump into our massive list of plants, let us quickly talk about how this magic actually works. Growing plants without soil is not a new internet trend. It actually has roots going back thousands of years, all the way to the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. The modern term for this is hydroculture, or water propagation. Plants are incredibly adaptable survivors. When you take a cutting from a parent plant and place it in water, the plant panics just a little bit. It realizes it needs to search for nutrients, so it transforms specific cells along its stem into root cells. These new water roots are physically different from soil roots. They are finer, more fragile, and specifically designed to pull oxygen directly from the water. The secret to success here is oxygen. Stagnant, dirty water will just rot your plant, but fresh, clean water acts like an incubator. Now that you understand the science behind the magic, let us look at the first plant on our list. Let us kick things off with the undisputed king of water propagation. I am talking about the classic pothos plant. If you have ever felt like you have a black thumb, this is your ultimate redemption plant. So how do we get this beautiful vine to multiply without any soil? It is actually incredibly simple. Just find a healthy, trailing vine on your current plant and look for the small, brown, bumpy nodes along the stem. Grab a clean pair of scissors and make a sharp cut right below one of those nodes. Now drop that cutting into a simple glass of fresh tap water. Picture a clear, vintage mason jar sitting gracefully on your kitchen windowsill, catching the bright morning light with bright green leaves spilling over the edge. Within just 5 to 7 days, you will see bright white roots shooting out from that little brown bump. Now let us shatter a very common myth right here. Many people believe that pothos cuttings need to be kept in a dark room to grow roots because light encourages algae. This is completely false. While you should avoid boiling the water in direct sunlight, your cutting needs bright, indirect light to produce the energy required for rapid root growth. Hide it in the dark, and it will just rot. Change the water every 4 days and you will have a brand new plant in no time. Next up on our journey is the incredibly popular spider plant. This plant is practically famous for being eager to multiply. You have probably seen mature spider plants hanging from the ceiling, producing dozens of tiny baby plants that dangle down like little green spiders on a web. To propagate this plant in water, you do not even need to cut a main stem. You simply snip off one of those little babies, which are called spiderettes. Look for a spiderette that already has tiny, hard bumps at its base. Picture taking a delicate little wine glass, filling it almost to the top with water and gently resting the base of the baby plant right on the surface. The leaves should stay dry, but the very bottom needs to touch the water. Here is a myth we need to bust. Many beginners think the baby plant must remain attached to the mother plant until it grows roots in a nearby pot of soil. That is definitely not true. Snipping it off and putting it in water actually speeds up the process significantly because the baby is forced to fend for itself. Within a week, those hard little bumps will explode into thick, fleshy white roots. It is a fantastic project to do with kids because the results happen so incredibly fast. Moving right along, let us talk about the virtually indestructible snake plant. Also known as Sansevieria, this architectural beauty is famous for its tall, sword-like leaves. Now, propagating a snake plant in water requires a little bit of patience, but the method is absolutely fascinating. You do not need a stem at all. You just take a single healthy leaf and cut it into sections about 4 inches long. Here is a crucial tip for you. You must remember which way is up. The plant will only grow roots from the bottom edge of the cut. Picture a tall, heavy-bottomed glass vase filled with just 2 inches of water, holding 3 or 4 geometric leaf cuttings standing straight up. Now, it is time to debunk a massive myth. People will tell you that succulents and snake plants will instantly turn to mush and rot if you leave them in water. The truth is, they only rot if you put them in dirty water right after cutting them. The secret is to let the cut edges dry out and heal for about 3 days before putting them into the water. This forms a protective callus. Once in the water, keep it clean, and within a month, you will see strong, orange-coloured roots pushing out from the bottom edge. Our fourth plant is the modern and sleek Zed plant. With its glossy, dark green leaves lined up perfectly along thick stems, it looks almost fake. The Zed plant is notorious for growing very slowly in soil, but water propagation is a fantastic way to multiply it. You can actually root this plant using an entire stem, or amazingly just a single leaflet. If you are using a stem, simply cut it near the soil line and place the bottom 2 inches into a heavy glass. Picture a tall, elegant cylinder vase sitting on a sleek office desk, holding a single structural ZZ stem. It looks like high-end modern decor while it is quietly growing roots. The biggest myth surrounding the ZZ plant is that it can only be propagated by dividing its underground potato-like bulbs, which are called rhizomes. While dividing rhizomes is faster, stem cuttings in water work perfectly fine and allow you to keep the mother plant completely intact. You will need to bring your patience for this one, as it can take up to 2 months for the roots to appear. But when they do, they are thick, white, and look incredibly cool, growing inside a clear glass container. Just remember to change the water weekly to keep it fresh. Now we arrive at the absolute superstar of the houseplant world, the Monstera deliciosa. Famous for its massive tropical leaves with natural holes and splits, the Monstera is surprisingly easy to root in water. Because this plant gets so huge, you are going to need a substantial cutting. Look for a thick stem that includes at least 1 leaf, and most importantly, an aerial root or a node. Make a clean cut with heavy-duty shears. Picture a giant, wide mouth-glass jar, perhaps an old pickle jar that has been perfectly cleaned, sitting on a sturdy wooden table. Inside is a massive structural Monstera leaf, with its thick node submerged in cool water. The myth we need to address here is that Monstera plants are simply too large and heavy to be propagated in water without rotting. This is a complete misconception. As long as you provide a container heavy enough so it does not tip over and ensure only the node is submerged while the main stem stays dry, it will thrive. In about 3 to 4 weeks, that thick, brown aerial root will start shooting out dozens of fuzzy, white water roots. It is incredibly dramatic and satisfying to watch a jungle giant multiply right before your eyes. Let us shift gears to a classic vining beauty, the English ivy. This plant brings a touch of old-world charm to any room with its elegant, lobed leaves. English ivy is a fantastic candidate for water propagation. You will want to take a cutting that is about 6 inches long, stripping off the bottom leaves so you have a bare stem to submerge. Picture a collection of vintage coloured glass bottles, maybe in shades of blue and green, lined up on a sunny bathroom windowsill. In each bottle, a delicate vine of ivy is trailing down, soaking up the humidity. Now, there is a stubborn myth that English ivy is nearly impossible to propagate indoors because it is naturally an outdoor climbing plant that needs cold weather. That is simply not true. The trick to indoor water propagation for ivy is to choose newer, flexible green growth rather than the old, woody, brown stems. The young green stems are full of rooting hormones and will readily produce fuzzy white roots in about 2 to 3 weeks when placed in room temperature water. It is a wonderfully simple way to create trailing accents for your bookshelves without spending a dime at the garden centre. Plant number 7 is the absolutely lovely heartleaf philodendron. Often confused with the pothos, this plant has softer, perfectly heart-shaped leaves and a slightly more delicate vining habit. Propagating a heartleaf philodendron in water is incredibly rewarding and nearly foolproof. Just like with the pothos, you need to locate a node along the vine, make a snip, and drop it in water. Picture a simple round glass fishbowl filled with fresh water, with dozens of tiny green hearts cascading over the rounded glass edges. It creates a stunning, living centerpiece for any dining table. Let us take a moment to clear up a major myth. Many people assume that because pothos and heartleaf philodendron look similar, they are the exact same plant and follow the exact same timeline. While the method is identical, the philodendron is often a little bit faster to show root growth. It is highly sensitive to the rooting hormone naturally present in its own stem. If you put a cutting of a philodendron in the same jar as a cutting of a plant that is struggling to root, the philodendron will actually release hormones into the water that help the other plant grow roots faster. It is like having a natural rooting booster right in your glass. Coming in at number 8 is the vibrant Chinese evergreen, also known as aglaonema. If you want to add a splash of pink, red or silver to your water propagation station, this is the plant for you. Chinese evergreens have thick, cane-like stems rather than trailing vines. To root this plant, you need to cut a top section of a stem, making sure it has a few leaves attached. Picture a tall, narrow glass cylinder filled with water, holding a stunning bouquet of hot pink and deep green aglaonema leaves. It looks exactly like a fancy floral arrangement, but instead of dying in a week, it is actually growing a new life. The common myth about Chinese evergreens is that their stems are too thick and fleshy, meaning they will only rot in water and must be propagated by dividing the roots in soil. While root division is great, stem cuttings in water work beautifully if you follow one strict rule. You must let the freshly cut stem sit on a paper towel for 24 hours before putting it in water. This allows the cut to seal itself. Once sealed, it will sit happily in clean water, pushing out thick, noodle-like roots within a month. Next on our list is the bold and beautiful dumb cane, scientifically known as Dieffenbachia. This tropical stunner features large, paddle-shaped leaves speckled with creamy white and yellow patterns. Propagating dumb cane in water is surprisingly easy, but it requires a bit of respect. You can take a cutting from the top of the plant, or even cut a bare piece of the thick stem into horizontal chunks. Picture a sturdy, square glass vase sitting securely on a kitchen island. Inside, a thick, green cane rests in the water, slowly pushing out a brand new root system. Now, we must address the big myth and the very real warning associated with this plant. The myth is that the toxic sap of the dumb cane will poison the water so badly that the plant cannot grow roots. While the plant will root perfectly fine, the sap is indeed toxic to humans and pets, which is how it got the name dumb cane. If you get the sap in your mouth, it can cause severe swelling. The truth is, as long as you wash your hands thoroughly after taking the cutting and use a dedicated glass container that you do not drink out of, water propagating Dieffenbachia is completely safe and highly effective. Just change the water regularly to keep it fresh. Our 10th plant is an absolute classic that you have probably seen in offices and restaurants around the world. It is the lucky bamboo. Here is a fun fact right off the bat. It is not actually bamboo at all. Its real name is Dracaena sanderiana. This plant practically begs to be grown in water. To propagate it, you simply cut a green offshoot from the main stalk, peel off the bottom leaves, and place it in water. Picture a beautiful, shallow glass dish, filled with smooth, black river stones. The bright green, lucky bamboo stalks stand tall among the stones, with clean water filling the spaces in between. It is the ultimate Zen garden display. Let us bust the biggest myth about lucky bamboo. People think it needs special, expensive liquid fertilizers to survive in water long term. In reality, lucky bamboo is highly sensitive to the harsh chemicals and salts found in most fertilizers and even in heavy tap water. The secret to massive, healthy root growth is simply using distilled water or rainwater. If you give it pure, chemical-free water, it will happily grow an intricate web of orange and red roots without any extra food at all. Keep it out of direct sunlight and it will thrive for years. Moving on to plant number 11, we have the lovely arrowhead plant, or Syngonium podophyllum. As the name suggests, the leaves are shaped perfectly like little arrowheads, and they come in amazing colours ranging from bright green to pale pink. When it is young, it looks like a bushy little plant, but as it matures, it starts to vine and trail. To propagate it in water, you simply find a vining stem and cut just below a node. Picture a beautiful teardrop-shaped glass vase hanging by a macrame cord in a bright window. Inside, delicate pink arrowhead leaves fan out, while a network of fine white roots grows below the waterline. The biggest myth about the arrowhead plant is that it must be kept in soil to maintain its bushy shape, and that water propagation will make it thin and stringy. The truth is that the plant's shape is determined by light, not by soil. If you keep your water-propagated Syngonium in a spot with very bright, indirect light, it will grow tight, compact leaves right out of the jar. It is an incredibly fast rooter, often showing signs of life in just 4 or 5 days, making it highly rewarding for impatient gardeners. Number 12 is a plant that will completely blow you away with its speed. I am talking about the wildly colourful Coleus. This plant features some of the most psychedelic leaf patterns in the botanical world, with neon pinks, deep purples, and bright greens, all on one leaf. Coleus is usually treated as an outdoor annual flower, but it makes a phenomenal indoor water propagation subject. Just snip the top 4 inches off a branch and drop it in water. Picture an old, clear glass milk bottle sitting on a bright patio table, absolutely overflowing with neon-coloured leaves. It looks like a bright summer bouquet. Now let us crush a major myth here. Most gardeners believe Coleus is only an outdoor plant that dies completely in the winter. However, if you take cuttings in the late fall before the frost hits and put them in glasses of water indoors, they will root instantly and live happily on your windowsill all winter long. I am not joking when I say this plant roots fast. You can literally put a cutting in water on a Monday, and by Thursday you will see a massive explosion of white, fuzzy roots. It is arguably the fastest rooting plant on this entire list. Let us step into the exotic world with plant number 13, the begonia. Specifically, cane varieties like the famous Begonia maculata, known for its silver polka dots and red undersides. Begonias look incredibly delicate, but they are tough survivors when it comes to water propagation. You need a stem cutting that includes at least 1 leaf and a node. Picture a tiny crystal clear shot glass sitting on an elegant mirror tray. Inside the glass is a single, dramatic, polka-dotted leaf on a short stem, soaking in the water. The major myth surrounding begonias in water is that their soft, fleshy stems will instantly melt and turn into a slimy mess before any roots can form. This only happens if you submerge the actual leaf in the water. The leaf will melt, but the stem will not. The key to begonia water propagation is ensuring absolutely no part of the delicate leaf touches the water surface. Only the bare stem should be submerged. If you keep the water perfectly clean by changing it every 3 days, that stem will produce a cluster of fine, hair-like roots in about 3 weeks. It is a stunningly beautiful process to watch. Plant number 14 is an absolute vining powerhouse. It goes by several names, including the inch plant or trade scantia. This plant is instantly recognisable by its striking purple and silver-striped leaves that sparkle like glitter in the sunlight. Propagating trade scantia in water is so easy it almost feels like cheating. You just break off a piece of the brittle stem, remove the lowest leaves, and drop it in a glass. Picture a simple, clear glass tumbler on a white desk with vivid purple vines rapidly spilling over the sides, creating a cascade of colour. There is a common myth that trade scantia roots so easily that you can just throw a handful of cuttings into a bucket of water and ignore them. While they do root easily, they are highly prone to stem rot if the water gets murky. The absolute secret to getting a massive, healthy root system is stripping the bottom 2 inches of the stem completely bare. If a single purple leaf sits beneath the waterline, it will rot in 24 hours and ruin the whole glass. Keep the submerged stem totally bare, and you will see explosive root growth in less than 5 days. Our 15th plant is the elegant and serene peace lily, or spathiphyllum. Known for its dark, glossy leaves and pure white, flag-like flowers, the peace lily is a staple in homes and offices everywhere. Now, propagating a peace lily in water is slightly different from the vining plants we have discussed. You cannot just cut a leaf or a stem. You must take the plant out of its pot and gently divide the root crown, washing away all the soil from the roots of the new division. Picture a large, perfectly round glass betta fish bowl. Instead of a fish, it holds a lush, green peace lily, with its magnificent, complex root system, clearly visible through the water, nestled among shiny glass marbles. The myth we need to completely destroy here is that a peace lily cannot live in water permanently and will eventually drown. This is entirely false. Peace lilies are incredibly adaptable to hydroculture. As long as you wash all the old dirt off the roots to prevent bacterial rot and leave the top quarter of the root crown exposed to the air so it can breathe, a peace lily can live for years exclusively in a vase of water. It is a spectacular way to display this elegant plant. Coming in at number 16 is the quirky and adorable Pilea peperomioides, famously known as the UFO plant or the Chinese money plant. This plant features perfectly round, coin-shaped leaves that bounce around on delicate stems. The Pilea is a wonderful plant to propagate because it naturally does most of the work for you by producing tiny baby plants, called pups, directly from its main stem or popping up from the soil. You just take a sharp knife and cut a pup right off the mother plant. Picture a row of tiny clear glass spice jars sitting securely on a sunny kitchen shelf. Each little jar holds a perfect miniature UFO plant, its tiny round leaves looking like green coins hovering over the water. A very persistent myth is that Pilea pups are far too delicate for water propagation and must be rooted directly in specialised sandy soil. In reality, water propagation is the safest way to root a Pilea pup without the risk of drying it out. If you place the tiny cut stem into shallow water, it will develop a strong, vigorous root system in about 2 weeks. Watching those thick, white roots swirl around in a tiny glass jar is absolutely delightful. Plant number 17 brings us to the diverse and fascinating world of peperomias. There are hundreds of varieties, from the wrinkled ripple peperomia to the adorable watermelon peperomia, which literally looks like tiny watermelons. These plants are fantastic for water propagation, and the best part is that you do not even need a stem. You can root them using nothing but a single leaf attached to its little stalk, which is called a petiole. Picture a delicate, antique teacup filled with clean water, with 3 or 4 perfectly patterned watermelon leaves resting on the rim, their tiny stalks dipping into the water below. The myth here is quite dangerous for the plant. Because peperomias have thick, semi-succulent leaves, many people believe they hate water and will instantly rot if placed in a glass. While they do hate sitting in soggy soil, clean, oxygenated water is a totally different story. The trick is to only submerge the very tip of the petiole, keeping the actual leaf completely dry. If you do this, the end of the stem will sprout a tiny cluster of roots, and eventually a brand new miniature plant will grow right out from under the water. Let us talk about an absolutely stunning trailing plant for number 18, the string of hearts. Scientifically known as Ceropegia woodii, this plant features incredibly thin, wiry vines covered in tiny, fleshy, heart-shaped leaves. It looks incredibly fragile, but it is surprisingly resilient. To propagate it in water, you simply take a cutting of a vine, making sure there are a few nodes attached. Picture a delicate, tall champagne flute sitting on a high shelf. Thin, wire-like vines cascade down the side, while tiny green and silver hearts float above the waterline inside the glass. Now, let us tackle a major myth. The string of hearts grows tiny. potato-like tubers along its vines, and the myth says these tubers must be planted in bone, dry, succulent soil to root. The truth is, if you drop a section of vine that contains one of these little tubers directly into a glass of water, it will root faster and more aggressively than almost anything else. The tuber acts like an energy battery, pushing out dozens of roots within just a few days. It completely defies the logic of succulent care, making it a thrilling experiment for any plant lover. For our 19th plant, we are going big. I am talking about the impressive Ficus elastica, commonly known as the rubber plant or rubber tree. With its massive, thick, glossy leaves in shades of deep green or burgundy, it makes a bold statement. You might not think a tree could root in a glass of water, but it absolutely can. You will need to take a cutting from the top of a branch, ensuring it has a thick stem and at least 2 large leaves. Picture a heavy, thick, walled glass pitcher resting firmly on the floor near a bright window. Inside stands a striking, dark, burgundy rubber tree cutting, looking like a modern sculpture as it drinks from the water. The biggest myth preventing people from trying this is the belief that woody, tree-like plants simply cannot develop water roots. This is a complete misunderstanding of the ficus plant. The key to success here is dealing with the milky white sap that bleeds when you cut it. You must wash this sticky sap off completely with warm water before placing the cutting in your glass. Once clean, the stem will slowly push out incredibly thick, powerful roots. It takes patience, often up to 6 weeks, but the result is magnificent. Finally, we reach plant number 20, the beautiful and highly sought-after Hoya, often called the wax plant. Hoyas are famous for their thick, waxy leaves and stunning star-shaped flower clusters that smell like chocolate or vanilla. Propagating a Hoya in water is a fantastic way to multiply these somewhat expensive plants. Simply take a stem cutting featuring 2 or 3 leaves and a bare node at the bottom. Picture a beautiful, colourful glass apothecary bottle sitting on a very bright, sunny windowsill. A thick, waxy Hoya vine rests inside, soaking up the warmth of the sun. The final myth we need to bust today is that Hoyas, being epiphytes that naturally grow on the bark of trees, will suffocate and die if their stems are left in water. The truth is that Hoya stems are incredibly adaptable. While they do hate dense wet soil, they absolutely love clean, highly oxygenated water. If you place a Hoya cutting in a warm spot with plenty of bright sunlight, it will throw out a thick network of strong roots in about 3 weeks. It is the perfect stress-free way to ensure your expensive Hoya cuttings survive and thrive. And there you have it, 20 absolutely incredible houseplants that will happily grow roots in nothing but a simple glass of water. What we have uncovered today is that you do not need expensive soils, messy potting stations, or complicated gardening skills to build a massive indoor jungle. From the lightning-fast Coleus to the architectural monstera, the power of hydroculture is truly amazing. The most surprising twist: some of the plants that we are told absolutely hate water, like the succulent peperomia or the woody rubber tree, actually thrive in it when you follow the simple steps we discussed. Water propagation saves you money, saves you from cleaning up dirt, and provides a beautiful living science experiment right on your windowsill. So, which of these 20 plants are you going to snip and drop into a glass of water today? Let me know your top pick in the comments below. If you loved this deep dive into soil-free gardening, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for more plant magic, and share this video with a friend who needs to multiply their plant collection. Thank you so much for watching, and happy propagating!